Hey y'all, this is my Com again. How you doing? I just recorded like a 45-minute thing and accidentally deleted it instead of saving it. So how's that feel for the rest of you? I cannot believe I just did that. Holy hell. It has been a long day, so it's not that surprising, but also really frustrating. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with this, but here's what I'm going to say. I was doing a recording about being asexual in queer spaces because today I went to the Pride Alliance, which is the queer student organization on the campus that I work at. They were doing an open panel where anyone could ask any questions they want if they decided to. And the panel was with the Pride Alliance, which is the student organization, the Pride Network, which is a faculty and staff queer organization on campus, and then the Rainbow Seniors, which is an organization in the city I live in for queer folks who are 55 and older, which I only vaguely knew existed, but hurrah, now I know it's a real thing, and I met a couple of them, woohoo. But anyway, so I went to this thing, and there was it was like an open panel where, like I said, anyone could ask any questions. It's kind of just like bringing the different generations of the queer community in the city I live in together, which was very cool. However, I don't know how to say this, because it was a very good experience, and I am very encouraged by the fact that there are, young queer folks who are open and forming their own community and that sort of thing. We didn't have a queer, student organization when I was an undergrad, so I'm very excited that exists. However, and maybe it just doesn't matter for younger folks as much as it does for people my age and older. But I'm just going to explain how it started. So it started with, we're going to go around the room and do introductions of your name, your pronouns, preferred pronouns, and then some icebreaker question, whatever. And while I think it's great to go with name and pronouns, part of me, and again, maybe it just doesn't matter for younger folks as much as it does for my generation, but part of me was shouldn't we also maybe talk about how we identify in terms of queerness? I don't know. And we have never done that in the Pride Network either. I am part of the Pride Network, which is the faculty and staff organization on campus, which is basically just about camaraderie and getting together as queer folks and just talking about what's going on and how our lives are going and stuff. I am very new to that organization. I've been to 3 meetings, maybe 4. So I'm pretty new. When I started this new job, I was basically I am going to do a year of just figuring out what the hell my job is. And then after that, I will try and get more involved with stuff going on campus. So I have not been a part of the Pride Network for a long time. I am very new to it still. And it has been dying since I joined. Correlation does not equal causation. It is not my fault. Don't blame me. It was dying before I joined. But part of the problem is that, when you work on a campus, faculty, especially faculty, will often leave for better opportunities. So a lot of the people who were involved in the Pride Network, from what I understand, left for other opportunities. And probably because we're not the most welcoming place for queer folks, because I live in a conservative state. So, even if, the city I live in is a blue speck in the conservative state I live in, it's very liberal for the most part. But, the state we live in is still very conservative. So people are gonna, queer people are gonna leave if they get a better opportunity somewhere more liberal. It's just what's gonna happen. And my understanding is that is basically what has happened. People have gotten better opportunities and they have left, and I don't blame them for that. I'm just bummed out that I joined this queer organization when it was dying. But anyway, at the the Pride Network, we have never talked about how we identify either. I am making a lot of assumptions about the people who are in the group, which is not good. You shouldn't make assumptions, but that's the problem. When you're not willing to self-identify, that's kind of what's going to happen. So, like, I know someone is married with a child, so I assume they are bisexual at the very least, but I don't know who their partner is. I don't know who they're married to. She could be married to another woman, and I wouldn't know that. I just know that she has a child, so who knows? I do know another one, the de facto organizer of the Pride Network. I know that she is a lesbian. That much I know for sure. But that's because I vaguely knew her when I was a student at this university, so I know because of that. And then there are a couple of people who I assume are gay men, but I could be wrong. They could be bisexual. I don't know for sure. It's just a whole frustrating thing where I'm like, I don't know. And I wish I did. And realistically, labels probably don't matter. We're all queer. Who cares? However, I am on the asexual scale. And as someone who is on the asexual scale, I am demisexual, which means that I do not feel sexual attraction to someone until I have a close personal relationship with them. So I have to know someone before I can find them sexually attractive. I can't, look at someone on the street and be like, wow, I want to have sex with that person. That just doesn't happen to me. I do not feel sexual attraction in that way. So yeah, it's a whole thing. Demisexuality is on the asexual scale, so therefore I am asexual. That's just the easiest way to explain it to people. And there are lots of people who still don't get that, so whatever. Anyway, the thing is that asexuals experience quite a bit of discrimination from the queer community itself. I personally have never experienced that, but I have also been a hermit and not really a part of any kind of community for the bulk of my adult life. For the bulk of my life, really, childhood and adult life, I really haven't had a lot of friends, and I haven't really considered myself part of a lot of communities that I should have been able to consider myself part of, but I never really have. I went to a small school when I was in elementary school, and I was bullied by a popular girl from kindergarten onward. So I did not have a lot of friends there and was not a part of any communities there. I kind of didn't care about having friends and communities much in junior high and high school, so I formed small, tiny friendships, but nothing major. And nothing that has lasted. I don't have any, friends from childhood as an adult. There is no one from my childhood, other than my sister. There is no one from my childhood that I still speak to. I'm not even, Facebook friends with any of them or anything like that, so there's that. And then, in college, I formed friendships, but that all fell apart the minute, my closest friend, my best friend in college, decided he did not like the fact that I was dating a lesbian that he was interested in, even though she would never be with him. He didn't like the fact that she had asked me out and I was dating her. So he broke us up by manipulating her. It's a whole thing. I have kind of gone into it a little bit in a previous recording. Don't ask me what it's called, because I don't remember. It's a very old recording. But that's a thing that happened, and our, like, our group of friends at the time, none of our friends believed that he would do that. So I lost all of those friends when that happened, because they did not believe me when I said, he did this, he broke us up. So, yeah, it's a whole thing. And then the rest of my adulthood, up until the last couple of years, I worked overnights, so I had no social life because I was working overnights and was awake when everyone else was asleep, and vice versa. So I have not really formed a lot of community ties, and that sucks. But it also means that, like, I should be a bit bolder about being who I am. And that is something, like, sorry, I already did a 45-minute recording on this that I accidentally deleted, so I don't 100% remember what I talked about in this recording. So here I am being like, did I say this already? I don't know. So I went to this panel that was like a generational panel, and it was an open panel, so no set questions or anything, but people could ask whatever they wanted. And it involved students, college students specifically, college employees, faculty and staff, and then senior queer folks. And again, like with the faculty and staff group, there was no, like, indication of how everyone identifies sexuality-wise, or in terms of queerness, how do you identify? There was no real indication of that. We did pronouns, and that's it, which, I mean, again, is better than nothing. It's a really good first step. And maybe, I can't remember if I said it in this recording, but maybe labels just don't matter to younger folks as much as they do to me, and people in my age group, and older. But as an asexual, I would feel more comfortable if, because I wasn't gonna out myself as asexual in front of people I barely know, when I don't know how they will react to that. A lot of asexual folks face discrimination from other queer folks on a regular basis. Because I have not been a part of these communities, I haven't experienced that, but I know other people have. So I didn't know what to expect, and I did not want to derail something that was supposed to be positive and a good, like, and provide a good impact for students who are queer. I didn't want to derail that by making it awkward if they wouldn't have been accepting of me. And since I didn't know, it was something I did not bring up, and I was just very vague in a lot of my responses. Like, I talked about coming out, but not coming out as what? And, like, those sorts of vaguities. So, I don't know. Part of me feels bad about that, though. Part of me feels bad that I was scared to be as open as I could have been. Because when I first volunteered to be part of this panel, first of all, I kind of expected, like, preset questions, and it is fine that that was not a thing. I'm not saying that's bad. That's just what my experience of panels usually is. Whether or not you know in advance what the questions are, usually there is, like, a set idea of what the questions are going to be. It's fine that that was not a thing. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying that that's what I expected. So, it was a little bit shocking in that regard. Sorry for the background noise. But yeah. because I didn't know that, and because I have never met I had never met the Rainbow Seniors, for example, the 55 plus queer folks. I'd never met them before, so I didn't know how they would react. And both of them were lesbians, and there were just a lot of comments, both from them and from students, about gayness or being gay or being lesbians, but not a lot of in between or outside of that descriptor. There was at least one trans. I say at least one student who identified openly as trans. There were a couple who I'm pretty sure are also trans, but again, I don't like to make assumptions, so I don't know that for certain. And yeah. But the discussion generally was about just coming out as queer. No one really specified a lot, other than the seniors who kept. And when I say seniors, I'm saying 55 plus people who were talking about coming out as lesbians, specifically. But I feel like part of me feels bad. Part of it was a discomfort thing. I didn't know. I had only met 2 of the people at this meeting before, and there were like 20 people there. So, part of it was a discomfort thing. Part of it was I didn't want to make things awkward, and I didn't want to make things potentially contentious. And part of this is, again, I come from a conservative state and a conservative family, so I didn't know what to expect. And I never know what to expect with new people I am meeting in the conservative state I live in. So even if you're part of the queer community, there's no way for me to know that you're going to be accepting of asexuality. So I don't know. But so part of me feels bad for not being more open about it, because we were there for students. That's like why we were there. We were there for the students who are queer and are trying to find a community around that. And I feel bad about not being as open as I could have been about how I actually identify. And the fact that being on the asexuality scale is totally normal and fine and not a problem. Because when I was their age, I didn't have that, and I didn't know that. And part of me, in retrospect, is I should have been more open about that for them. Whether or not it caused friction with the older queer folks, I should have been more open about that. And I'm going to try and get better about that. I have been trying to be more involved, and I tried to get involved in the queer community in the town I grew up in as I got older, but it was hard. I never felt like I belonged, and I don't know why. So I'm trying to be better about that now and be I'm gonna make myself belong somehow. But yeah. Some things I need to do, some next steps are I need to find out more about what is happening out in the community, not just on campus, and be involved in the wider community in the city I live in. A wider community of queer folks there. Even if it's scary, and even if I feel like some of them may not accept me, how much should I care about that when I already don't really have much of a community anyway? And I am a hermit most of my life anyway. Who cares if they don't accept me, right? And part of me, there were a couple of different things I did to this evening where I'm is this my purpose in life? I've been thinking about how maybe not everyone has a purpose in life, kind of existential experimentation or whatever. For the past couple of years, as I have realized getting a new job did not really fix any of my problems. and has actually created more problems, but whatever. um like, I've been thinking a lot more about, like, is there a reason I am here, or are we just random specks? Are we just dust in the wind? Are we just randomly here, or is there really a purpose? And part of me now, there were a couple of different things that I experienced today that made me wonder, is this my purpose? But that was one of them. Is my purpose to be not necessarily an asexual spokesperson, but like a role model for younger queer folks? I don't know. Maybe it is. And maybe that's something I should be trying to do more of. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you have an opinion. I'm halfway kidding, but we'll see. That was just one of the things. The other thing, very, very briefly, Nerd Night in the city I live in is done at the end of this year, unless someone takes up the reins, and I do not think I can do it alone, but I could maybe scrounge up a couple of people to have that be a thing. And my other thought today was, is that my purpose? Is my purpose to keep Nerd Night alive in the city I live in? I don't know. But anyway, going back to the queer thing, part of it is that I don't feel like I am an expert in any way. I just am living my own lived experience as a person on the asexual scale who is also non-binary. But I present in a very female fashion because that is how I was raised, and it's very hard for me to break out of that. I try a lot. I'm just not very good at it. So, like, I don't know. Part of me wonders if that is maybe part of why I am here. And is that why I got this job on this campus, even though I feel like I very much do not fit in my job, in my department even. I don't feel like I fit. But was the point, if there is a purpose and a destiny and all of that, is that why? So that I could be a part of the queer community on campus and, like, help younger queer folks explore and understand more about themselves. Is that why? Maybe it is. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to get around to posting this today, so it's not going to get posted until a day after all of this stuff happened. And I apologize for that, but it's really freaking late, and I need to actually eat some food and then not go to bed right away, because that's a bad habit. But, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Oh, thank you so, so, so much for listening if you did listen to this. It was kind of a rambly mess, but also very important in my opinion. And let me know in the comments if you liked this content or if you hated it, whatever. I would like to know both sides. If you hated this, let me know. If you liked it, let me know. If you think this is what I should be doing in life, let me know. I can talk about this a lot more. I don't feel like I'm an expert, but I can talk about my lived experience. That would be great and fine. There ain't a lot there, so it would not be very long, but I can do it. But yeah, again, thank you for listening if you did listen. I really, really seriously, sincerely do appreciate that. This has been my Ria Com, exploring the idea of being asexual in a queer space and whether or not that is actually accepted. And I don't actually know, so there was no answer here. It was just me rambling about shit. But yeah, I appreciate you listening, and I will chat at you again soon. Bye.